Okay, welcome everybody. So we're going to start in a yin pose and I'm going to suggest supported bridge. That's where I'd like to start. And I'll give some alternatives if that one doesn't work for you. So supported bridge, you are laying on the ground and you have something underneath your hips. If you have these types of bricks, I find these are best either, I usually like either two stacked on top of each other, or sometimes I like one because it can angle slightly. A bolster would work too. Pretty much anything you could elevate your hips with and it would work. And you just want to find that spot so that it's underneath your sacrum, so kind of top of your bum. And the feeling is not that you're in a back bend, but that your belly can lengthen and relax towards the ground. Okay. If you're just using one brick, you've got the edge of it right on your sacrum there. And I like to allow it to slightly tilt forward to give even a little bit more of that feeling of tilting my pelvis in slightly. Feet can separate, knees could fall together, or they could just stay apart. Just kind of check in with how that feels for you. So it's a little bit of an inversion. I'm choosing this one today because it stimulates the thymus and thyroid a little bit. So it's helpful for immune system, nice for digestion, other things. But if you don't like it, it's safe if you're pregnant or menstruating, but it might just not feel good. If it doesn't feel good, you could lay back over the bolster or lay flat on the ground or wherever else works best for you to just kind of rest a little bit and begin our practice together. So once you've found your spot, you can go ahead and take a deep breath. And if you are in supported bridge with me, you may feel on the exhale, your belly kind of releasing up towards your heart, which I'm hoping feels good. It might feel a little weird. The mild inversion, it's nice for the immune system, lymphatic system, digestion, especially when we can breathe deeply. And as you are here, just taking a moment to kind of notice how your body's receiving the shape, how your body's receiving some stillness. So as we speak, we have a new moon happening tomorrow, and it's late November. So we're getting right up into the last cycle or so before the winter solstice. So the energy is quite low right now, quite dark. And I find when we resist that, it's challenging. But when we allow it, it actually can be kind of sweet. When we let it be okay that this is a moment where we want to be a little more still, a little more quiet, receive a bit more rest. And the things that can happen in that place include dreaming, wishing, feeling, intending, connecting with spirit, learning, receiving. We're in the yin part of the year, very much so. The pinnacle of that will be the winter solstice itself around December 21st. So let's lean into the yin, let's lean into the stillness and allow some enjoyment of this. Receiving the support of the earth as we acknowledge the land that we are on and our relationship with that land, how it affects how we feel in our bodies. acknowledging our place in the web of everything. And then check in and see if you'd like to stay here a little bit longer, which is absolutely welcome. And you might want to explore a little bit of movement within here as well if you are kind of feeling ready to move. So just for example, you could bring your heels underneath your knees and carefully stretch out one leg. And depending on the prop you have underneath your bum, you might need to adjust it a little bit, or it might feel just fine to do that. And I'm also reaching my arms up over my head. So that's going to be a little bit more of an active stretch for the psoas. And if that felt good, you could do that on the other side, just gently bringing up the one foot and extending the other along the earth. So you're not trying to lift it up, you're just trying to stretch it out. Reaching up with the hands, nice and long through the side body. And then place the foot on the floor when you're ready. Lift up your hips if you haven't. Slide that prop out from underneath you and come to rest. And you may find that you want to hug your knees into your chest or extend your legs out long. Those are both good options. And I'm just going to give you a choice for where we're going to go next. So those of you practicing live with me, you're probably feeling that new moon pull. So we're going to stay with the yin a little bit longer. We're going to do a relatively brief twist. But if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I just need to move, maybe you're practicing this a little later in the cycle and you feel like you've got some energy, you could slowly start working into your sun salutations and we'll meet you there if you know them. Okay, otherwise just come with me. So you can step your feet to the floor again, shift your hips to the right and bring your knees down to the left. I often like to roll myself all the way to the left and then reopen. Couple of things that you could do yin wise, you could put something in between your knees. I also often like just tucking a bolster into my lower back. It just gives me a little bit more support, which I quite like. And if this feels a little too much, you can move your knees a bit down away from your face. Okay, this should feel relatively comfortable. This is certainly a stretchy yin pose, but it should feel pretty good. Anything weird going on in your shoulder, you can always rest your hand on your rib. Okay. And you can turn to look away from your knees. Okay, and then just some nice deep, slow breaths here. About 10 or 12 breaths. Continuing to soften your body into that receiving earth. And after your 10 or 12 breaths, when that feels good for you, you can gently roll to your side and then make your way over to the second side for your twist. So returning to your back, shifting the hips a little to the left, knees to the right, and if it works for you, just rolling your whole body a bit to the right before you reopen in your twist. And you can take that bolster if you like. I quite like this variation. I find it really comforting. You could put something between your knees as well. You don't necessarily need any props, but just to help you feel a bit more comfortable. Opening your arm up and then taking those nice, deep 10 or 12 breaths. Soft into the belly, receiving the earth beneath you. And then again, when that timing feels right for you, 10 or 12 or so breaths, you can roll to your side and return to laying on your back. Hug your knees into your chest and rock a little bit from side to side. So we're going to meet our friends in sun salutes when ready. And if you've been in your sun salutations and you want to come join us back down on the earth for a bit first, you're welcome to do that too. So we're going to find our way to hands and knees. You can roll over or you can rock and roll if you want, forward and back on your spine. Find your hands and knees on the earth and take a couple of cat and cow. So inhaling to open up along the front side, exhaling to round. As always, feel free to take this intuitively, just kind of moving where feels most right for you, adding circles or side to side motion or anything else. Eventually climbing up to downward dog. So I'm just taking my hands a little bit farther forward and they're nice and wide, lifting the knees and pressing the hips up to the sky. And you can continue to move with a little bit of intuition here, for example, by bending one knee at a time, swaying your hips. And just notice what your breath is doing. Some of you may already be in that kind of ujjayi pranayam, nice steady inhale and exhale through the nose, a little whispering sound at the back of the throat. We'll eventually come to stand at the top of the mat, feet hips distance, or they could be together if you're feeling a little more of that energy today. Elbows can rest on bent knees. You could hang your head down. And then curl up in your own time, gathering in the belly, nice generous bend to the knees. If you can, letting the shoulders and the head be heavy as you come up. Eventually collecting the shoulders onto the back, standing tall. Then inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale, dive over your legs, bending the knees again. Halfway lift, draw your heart forward and up, and then step your right foot behind you and lower your knee down or not. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Connect the palms, step back. Come forward into a plank. You could do that on your knees, shoulders over the wrists, and then lower down with your elbows in close. Point the toes, roll your shoulders back, take cobra, and then downward facing dog from here. And you guys know you can always modify these as you need to, okay? Right leg is gonna go up to the sky just as high as feels good, and then step it through best as you can. Back knee can come down, doesn't have to, reaching up into your lunge. And then forward bend at the top of your mat. Halfway lift, draw forward. Exhale, melt. Then the knees rising all the way up. Exhale, diving all the way down. Halfway lift, draw forward. Step your left foot back. Maybe this time the knee stays lifted, maybe not. Inhaling. Beautiful, you guys. Downward facing dog. Inhaling into plank, honor off the knees. Lower all the way down, or you could do a little halfway. Push up, straighten your arms and pull through. That's upward facing dog. And then back to downward dog from there. You could always do cat and cow as well instead of the vinyasa. Left leg is gonna rise on your inhale. And then step it through. Higher low lunge, rising up. Forward bend at the top of your mat. Halfway lift. And fold. And then the knees rising all the way up. Bring the hands together in front of your heart. Reach the arms up to the sky, inhale. Exhale, dive down. Halfway lift. This time step back into downward facing dog. So just one foot and then the other. And take your variation of vinyasa as you like it. Take your right leg up to the sky when you get to downward dog, again, as high as you'd like, and then step it through. And higher low lunge, reaching your arms up to the sky. This time, bend your left elbow, hold on to it with your right hand, and softly side bend to the right. Press the hips gently forward. Up through center. Back to downward facing dog. Optionally, take a vinyasa between the two sides. You can definitely skip this if that's what you feel you need right now. Left leg is gonna rise to the sky from downward dog. Same exact thing here, stepping the foot through. Back knee lowers, reach the arms up. Bend the right elbow, hold on to it, and softly curve to the left. Press the hips forward. Strong through the back leg and glute. Inhale up through center, back to downward facing dog, and you can take another vinyasa there if you want to. And again, it's sort of generally understood that on new moons, the energy is a bit lower. So just try to stay kind of present with what your body is telling you. It's okay if that feels different than how it may have felt a week ago. Take a moment to check in with your breath. And then make your way back up to the top of the mat. So you can bend your knees and hop or step forward. Halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And then roll up. Bend the knees. And gently rise. Taking a moment just to find and feel your core, by which I mean sort of the midline, center line of your body. You can bring your hands together in front of your heart. Lean into your left foot and pick up your right knee. And I'd love for you to do your best to come into a number 4 shape. Okay, if you can, above the knee. So it's just the ankle crossing the knee and the foot is over to the other side. Okay, you can stay right here, or you can bend into your left leg, sticking the bum out behind you a little bit. Keep that right foot flexed and just sinking into a standing number 4 shape. If you want to add, you can reach your arms forward and up. Keep breathing. Inhale, and then bring your hands to your heart again if they're not there. Stand up, bring the right knee into your chest, and then step back to warrior 1. So a nice long walking stance, the toes turn a little bit forward. Draw the tailbone down, front ribs in, and then you can send your arms forward and up. And I'm just keeping them in that prayer shape. You could widen them if you need to or want to. Keep the shoulders gently down and only lift the arms so much that your shoulders can stay down. If they start to kind of scrunch up, just bring them forward a little bit more. Weight in the back heel. Find for that length in the kind of back thigh psoas region. Breathe. Inhale, and then release your hands to your hips as you straighten your front leg. Hug the elbows back and then fold forward. And feel free to use your blocks here to put your hands on if that's helpful. Other things that you can do is widen your stance to the right and the left. You can also shorten it a bit, bringing the back foot a little closer to the front one. Take a halfway lift, drawing your hips back and your heart forward. Stay there or fold. Okay, stay there or flow. So inhaling to lift a bit and exhaling to melt. And just follow your breath with that. Take your time. Beautiful. Okay, I want you to check in with what you're feeling in the outside of your left thigh. Take a halfway lift, and if it's okay there, if you're not feeling like a lot of intense sensation already, I'm going to invite you to heel toe your front foot a little closer to the right. So the idea is that your feet are getting closer together widthwise, like you're standing on a tightrope kind of situation. Everybody okay so far? So you're probably going to start to feel it in the outer part of your hip. Draw that left hip back even more, lengthen your heart and fold. A little bit into that IT band area. If you need to pick up your back heel, you can, that's okay. Some of you might even be experimenting with crossing the legs, if your ankles will allow it. Okay, so we're gonna go into 3-legged downward facing dog from here. So it's gonna be a little bit of an awkward transition, but let's do the best we can. So you may wanna bring your foot back into just hips distance apart. Plant the palms, step your back foot a little farther back, and then the leg can go back and up into the sky behind you. Nice work, you guys. Rolling the hips open, you can have the knee bent there. Just giving yourself a little bit of space. And then here's a bit of a funny one. Okay, but we'll give it a try. So I'm going to inhale. Feel free to watch if you're not sure. I'm going to take the knee across and under until the outer arch of my foot comes onto the floor to the right of my mat. Okay, mine's pretty close to my hands. Yours might be closer to your foot. You can play around with that. And then drag the hips back and up. So it's that same IT band area. Okay, stay here or step your left hand a little bit further forward. Lift your right heel up and then plant the sole of the foot on the earth like warrior two. And then the right arm can rise. So it's a variation of side plank. Nice. Or rock star, I think this is one's called sometimes. Not a traditional name, I'm sure. Inhale, and then return to downward facing dog. Optionally take a vinyasa. That could mean cat and cow. It could mean child's pose. Nice. Okay, from downward dog, take your right leg please up into the sky behind you. Bring the knee to your chest and optionally shoulders over the wrist. Gather your belly in. Send the leg back up to the sky as you inhale. And then exhale it across to your left upper arm. Shoulders come over the wrists. Send the leg back up to the sky. And then to the right elbow or upper arm. Send the leg back up to the sky. And then take warrior two. Step your foot through. Spin the back heel. Reach the arms up and open. And let's just circle the wrists a couple of times as you're settling into the pose. You can reverse the direction of the circle. And when you're ready, settle. Soften the shoulders, knee right over the ankle. Arms up, bend the right elbow. Hold on to it and gently curve to the back of your mat. Beautiful. Straighten your front leg and gently release your arms open. Interlace your fingers around behind your back. Hug the shoulder blades together, lift the heart, soften your front knee, tip your hips back, and come into a little floating triangle with your arms behind your back. You could do this with a strap as well, and you may just not be going down as far, okay, as in your classic triangle. So just something to explore, and think about turning your heart a little bit towards the sky. Belly drawing in. Release the hands. Maybe you're deepening a little bit into your triangle, maybe not. Inhale, gently look down, bend into that front leg, step forward, nice and light. You can pick up your back heel and take a couple hops or just one to bring the foot forward. Halfway lift, exhale, fold, and then rise up in your favorite way. I like to roll, especially when I know I'm gonna balance. I find it just helps me to sort of feel into my core a little bit, kind of pour my weight into my heels. Coming to stand, taking a moment just to receive. Beautiful. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Soften the knees. Pour your weight into your right foot. Pick up your left and see if you can come into that number 4 shape. So the ankle is across the thigh. You can stay here just pressing the knee back. It's kind of like a tree pose. Or you could bend into your right leg a little bit, kind of stick the bum out, but keep the belly gently engaged. And if you'd like, you could reach the arms forward. Breathing your ujjayi. Keeping your gaze steady. Bring your hands back together in front of your heart, stand up, bring your knee into your chest, and then warrior one. That's it. So we've got about hips width between the heels width-wise. Squaring the hips forward and really kind of weighting the tailbone and the back of the leg down. Squaring your hips forward, and you can reach the Anjali Mudra palms together forward and maybe up. So you're thinking of lengthening and rising, but it's not so much about a back bend for me as it is lengthening this front of the back thigh region. So imagine you're kind of lifting and lengthening from your left heel. Keep some space between your ears and shoulders. Nice. Squaring your hips a little bit more to the front of the room. Inhale, and then gently release your hands to your hips, hug the elbows back, straighten that front leg and fold, and go ahead and use your blocks if that's helpful. Also, don't be afraid to adjust your back foot in a little bit closer to the front or a bit wider, or both. Lengthen your heart forward and up, draw your right hip back. You could stay there, you could fold and stay there, or you could flow if you like, lifting as you inhale, just getting longer through the spine and then kind of melting over your leg as you exhale. Some people really like to flow, aka me. Some people like to work in a little bit more stillness. It's not right or wrong, it's just where you're at today, how you're feeling in your body, what your body's asking for. Different kinds of benefits. Nice. Okay, check in with how the outer hip is feeling. Some of you might already be feeling like, oh my gosh, it's so tight right there. This is where I'm at. Okay. Otherwise, you could experiment with walking the right foot to the left heel toe, once, twice, 3 times. Maybe you're getting your heels in line. Maybe you're even crossing slightly. So just go with what you feel in your hips. Okay. It's not that we're trying to get to a specific place, except that we're trying to get to a place where the outer hip and leg feels like it's lengthening, but not hurting. Okay. You might want to lengthen your heart again. You could keep flowing here. You could be still. Wherever you are, just breathe. I know this can be a really intense one for a lot of us. Keep pressing the big toe mound down and drawing the right hip back and up. So good. Okay, when you're ready, gently heel toe the foot back so that you can make your way into 3-legged downward facing dog. You're gonna pick up your back foot and step it a little bit farther back. Plant the palms and the right leg goes back and up. You can roll the hips open. And then we're gonna take it under and across. So this is that kind of funny, let me move this out of the way. This kind of funny cross situation, but you'll feel a similar stretch right here. It's a bit of a different way of getting into the same thing. So the legs are crossed, outer arch of the foot is down, and I'm sticking my right butt up and back. Feel free to stay with the stretch or step the right hand a little bit more forward. Spin the sole of the left foot down and go ahead and lift up your left arm. Make sure you're not locking into your right elbow or shoulder. You're lifting up out of it. Beautiful. Inhale, and then all the way back to 3-legged dog if you can. You can open the hips again. And then gently release, and you can go ahead and take any variation on vinyasa there if that serves you. Really nice. And then take your left leg, please, up into the sky. Roll your hips open. And then bring your knee in and maybe shoulders over the wrists, if your shoulders are okay with it. Extend the leg up. On the exhale, bring it across to your right elbow or upper arm. Extend the leg. Left upper arm. Extend the leg. And then warrior two, go ahead and place that foot down. Release your arms up and open. Knee over your ankle. And let's take some nice circles for the wrists. Just releasing that. You reverse the direction. Soften. Reach the arms up, bend the left elbow, hold on to it and gently curve to the back of your mat. Stay conscious of your left knee. And then gently come up, straighten the leg, release your arms around behind your back, interlace the fingers. You could do this with a strap too, palms facing forward. Hug the shoulders back, lift the heart, opening the shoulders. If you need to shorten your stance a bit, you can. Okay, make sure you're not locking into that front leg. You want to think the hip is going to be rolling back. Okay, and then you're just coming into kind of a high triangle, opening the shoulders, turning the heart a bit to the sky. And then gently release your hands. You may or may not be coming down a little bit further and you're just in your kind of classic triangle here. Conscious of your neck, you could be looking up or to the side or down. Yeah, you could be looking anywhere as long as you're kind of conscious of what's going on with your neck. Inhale and then look down. Gently release the hands to either side of the front foot. We're going to step forward, nice and easy. Good work. Lengthen up halfway. Exhale to melt. And then rise up. You could roll or sweep. Returning to Tadasana, to standing, and taking a moment to receive. Okay, so I'm going to give another option for those of you that are feeling a little more energetic, a little less so. If you have a bit more energy and you want to work into something, I'll give you that option, okay? If you're feeling pretty ready to come down into your yin, again, you can go ahead and do that. Lay back over your bolster and take a nice supported fish. So you're just coming down and receiving here, okay? If you are coming with me, and we'll see how far I want to take this today, but I'll give you the steps and you can take them as you like, okay? We're standing, hands at heart, knees soft. Okay, I'll mirror you for this part. So leaning into your right foot, pick up your left and come back into that number 4 shape we've been working on. Sticking the bum back, leaning forward. This time, we're gonna aim to get the elbows to the shin bone. Palms face up and imagine you're holding clumps of dirt, really active through your hands. Press your elbows into your shin and lengthen your heart forward. Okay, this is plenty. You can stay here or you can plant your hands on the ground. I haven't done this in a while, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to walk my hands a little farther forward so that I can tip forward onto the ball of my back foot. I'm bending my elbows and I'm hooking my foot around my outer arm and resting my knee on my other elbow. Then I'm going to lean forward, hug everything together, and see if I can lift the foot off the ground, which, surprise, surprise, I can still do that. It's been a while. And then the last step would be extending. I'm not even going to attempt that today, but extending the left leg back and really lean. That means really leaning the heart forward. When I'm really ambitious and working into doing that, I step back and take wild thing. Okay. The rest of us, you're either going to release into standing forward bend or you're going to stand right back up. Okay. And just whoo. You might want to shake that out a little bit. And then let's try it on the other side. So you can return to standing if you're folded forward. Take your time, finding your core. Lift your toes, spread them apart, reconnect them. Lean left and take your right ankle to left thigh, palms together. And then sinking into it, sticking the bum back. I do love this one because there's so many steps that you can pause with and there's benefits in each place. Yeah, so you get your ankle right across the thigh. So your ankle's actually on the outside of your leg. And that may even get narrower as you go. Okay. You could bring your elbows to your shin bone, clumps of dirt in your hands, pull the heart forward. So all the points of your body have to kind of press into each other to allow you to balance. Take it slow. Okay, you could place your palms on the ground, walk them forward. Maybe I'll show this sideways, if that's helpful. So I like to kind of walk a fair bit forward, then the elbows, and then place the leg above the elbows. And I'm hooking the foot around, and I'm getting that kind of notch between my patella and my shin bone. Leaning forward, everything squeezes in together. I'm looking way forward. Ooh, harder on the side. Yeah, good. And then if you're going for it, you're extending that leg back. You could step into wild thing. Otherwise, you're releasing into forward bend, or you're standing back up. And then just take a moment to shake that out. Maybe bend one knee and then the other. If you're folded forward, maybe you're shaking your legs out if you're standing. And then we can all sit down and meet our friends in supported fish. So you can take your bolster around behind you. If your lower back's a bit sensitive, you could put a prop underneath the top edge, so it's a bit more of a ramp. I usually like soles of the feet together, knees open wide, and you can put your blocks underneath that if you need a bit of support there. You could also straighten your legs right out. Arms could be on the belly, out to the sides, or in a cactus shape. None of this should hurt. This is a mild stretch, but it should feel pretty easeful. And then just take some time to receive this shape. Let your belly be soft. You can let go of any ujjayi breath here. Okay, so we're going to make our way out of this shape. If I had all the time in the world, I'd be staying longer, but I want to make sure we have time for everything that we need to do today or want to do today, that I want to do specifically. So you can wash your knees from side to side. You can stretch out if you like. And then we'll make our way to a seat. So you could roll to your side first or sit up, whatever feels easier for you. And we're going to come into pigeon. Okay, I find I almost always do pigeon on the new moon. I feel like it's just such a good new moon pose. If you want to do it a little more actively, you could come into downward facing dog and step your leg forward. If you're going to do it yin style with me, you can sit up on your bolster pretty close to the top of your mat. If you don't have a bolster, there are other ways to do this. Okay, sit over onto your right hip, let the shin come down and swing your left leg around behind you. If you don't have a bolster and or pigeon doesn't work for you, 90-90 is a nice middle place to be. You can just fold over your leg from here. Okay. If you're doing pigeon, I like the heel at least to start pretty close to the groin. I'm straightening the back leg and then I'm kind of wobbling and wiggling to try to find a place that feels good for me. I like to use my blocks. Press the top of the back foot down, lengthen the heart. and press that back leg towards straight. It's a little bit of hip flexor there, kind of prepares the right hip, and then settle into the shape. So you could use the blocks if you have them underneath your elbows or head or chest or head or both. And if you don't have a bolster, if you have a second yoga mat, that actually works pretty well rolled underneath your hips. You could use one of your props underneath just your right hip. That can work too. You just have to kind of be a little bit more aware of the alignment. I like the bolster because I feel like you can kind of relax a bit more and you know you're going to stay pretty much in alignment. Okay. If this hurts your knee or if it just doesn't feel right in any way, try 90-90 or feel free to take any shape that does work for you where you feel safe. Okay. This is a bit of a stretch, but it should feel safe. And we're going to settle here for a couple of minutes. So we've got some time. So start to find your breath and receive the shape. Connecting again with the earth beneath you, that darker yin quality that we're being drawn to on the new moon. And this doesn't have to be a deep stretch to be effective. In fact, we don't want it to be too deep. Just a gentle stretch, the first edge, where you first start to feel some opening, that's the perfect place to be. Rather than kind of muscling past that point, allow yourself to be just right there. Receiving whatever wisdom the first edge has for you. Last couple breaths here. And in your own time, when you feel ready to come up, you can gently find your hands. I'm going to lean over to my right hip and bring the back leg to the front. So I'm seated again, but you could also press back into downward dog if you prefer and extend that right leg up and kind of wobble it. If you're seated with me, just the windshield wiper usually feels good. I also often like shaking my legs out. And then we'll come to the second side. So leaning over to that left hip, right leg back, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Folding forward, that's perfect. If the leg will reasonably straighten behind you, wobble, okay? Till you find the place that feels kind of sustainable, comfortable. Your knee should be down. You might want to point those back toes and take a little bit more of an active hip flexor lengthening, kind of heart forward and up. Think of a pigeon here. This is really what the pose is named after. It's that kind of puffed up chest. Long tail. And then go ahead and fold. And this is sometimes called sleeping pigeon, which I think is quite sweet. In yin, it's actually called sleeping swan, I believe. So you can have, again, whatever props you need to support you, and don't worry too much if this side looks exactly the same as the other. We want to honor what we're feeling, not necessarily the perfectness of symmetry. Okay. So again, leaning into that first edge and just being with it, resting with it. Noticing your breath. You don't need ujjayi here. If it helps you, that's fine. But we want to notice if we shorten or start to hold the breath. And just see what happens if we could free the breath a little bit, give it a bit more space. Take a last couple of breaths, trusting your instincts about how long you need to stay. And when you feel ready, you can gently start to press yourself up. And again, you could stretch back into downward dog and extend your left leg back and up, or if you're seated with me, just washing the knees side to side, maybe giving them a little shake. And then you can take a simple seat with me, allowing the shoulders to drip down your back and allow your chin to fall forward. And then lazily roll your head over to the right. Take your time, just slowly, slowly allowing gravity to do the work here, softening and lengthening the muscles of the neck. And feel free to keep moving gently or pause in different places, just staying over to the right. And then eventually taking your time to roll your chin back down to your chest. Pausing for a breath or so in center. And then slowly, lazily rolling to the left. And just exploring what the left or what's needed from the neck as we roll to the left. Just taking your time, exploring those different areas. It might be quite different than going to the right side. And when you feel ready, gently returning back down to center. A nice deep breath there. And then you can use your hands to help you to bring your head back up to neutral. And then roll your shoulders a couple of times. In both directions. So one direction, then the other. And then soften the shoulders and just turn your head to look side to side. Lovely. Okay, let's prepare for Shavasana. So I'm going to keep my bolster right here, and I'm going to just sit behind it, lay down on my back. If you feel like you need something before you can rest, like a happy baby or shaking the legs out or something like that, feel free to add that. If you have an inversion that you needed today that we haven't done, feel free to complete your practice. Okay, you might not need anything. When you're ready, just go ahead and extend your legs over the bolster if you like that variation. Flex the shoulders kind of onto the back, allow the palms to open, and add anything else that you may need for your Shavasana. So if your neck has been bothering you, it's quite nice to roll a towel or a blanket under the curve of your neck, which just kind of supports the neck and gives it the signal that it can let go. So feel free to add something like that. You could do an eye bag here. You could cover yourself with a blanket or layers. Whatever you need to be most comfortable. And then when you get there, take a nice deep breath and receive rest. And take a moment to notice how you're feeling. If you have the time and you'd like to stay in your Shavasana longer, please feel more than welcome to remain in your rest. Otherwise, we'll begin to gently move the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes first, maybe. Taking a bit of a stretch. Gathering the knees in and rolling over to one side. And then up to a seat. You could put your hands over top of your heart or together, or wherever feels most right for you today. And then gently bow your mind to your heart, your hands, your breath, your body. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. Honoring and acknowledging the moon, the land, its sacredness. Honoring and acknowledging ourselves and each other. Thank you for sharing your practice.